Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. I've got Jesse Moeller with me at jmoeller05 and Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel. I always call you Rebel because when I type it in, I put at Rebel, and that's how your tag comes up. So I didn't realize you have the FF first. Go figure.
Listen, there's some at Rebels on Twitter. I don't know what they do. I don't know what I do, but hey, that's the handle. So we're gonna roll with
I can relate to that. We are here for the Week 12 Fantasy Football Waiver Wire. But before we do that, I guess let's go ahead and recap the Monday Nighter, which I kind of found to be disappointing based on what we were expecting between the two teams. So we have the Eagles pull out a win 21-17 over the Chiefs. Go figure. Eagles move to 8-1, Chiefs to 7-2. I'll recap the fantasy stat lines here. We have Hurts, 150 passing and 1 interception. He only had 29 yards on the ground. 2 rushing touchdowns saved his day. Gotta love the brotherly shove or tush push or whatever they call it. That's the only thing saving his value at this point in the season. We have Patrick Mahomes, 177 yards, 2 TDs, and 1 interception, 38 yards on the ground. He was still better despite the fact he had 1 touchdown less. The running backs, we have DeAndre Swift had 12 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, 3 for 31 through the air. Nothing useful for Gainwell or Scott. Pacheco had 19 carries for 89 yards and 1 for 2 through the air, and nothing else there. So basically it was Swift was a good game. Pacheco didn't kill you, but he was just there. We have 2 good receiving stat lines, and they're not who you would expect. Devonta Smith would be the less surprising one, 6 for 99. Julio had 2 for 5, and AJB had 1 for 8 and was heated on the sideline because that's what AJ Brown does. Justin Watson had 5 for 53 and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, 4 for 42. Kadarius Toney, 2 for 12. Mecole Hardman, nothing really. Sky Moore, and MVS with the biggest drop of the season. We'll wrap it up here. We got tight ends. Travis Kelce had 7 for 44 and a touchdown. Lost a fumble to keep him under 20 points. Nothing from the Eagles, who might be getting Dallas Goedert back next week. Kickers were both crap. Defenses were both average. Didn't help you, didn't hurt you. What do you guys think about this one here? It's kind of a weird one. Some of the stat lines, the good ones you wouldn't expect, like Swift, I guess, and Pacheco, but down here, I wouldn't have expected that from A.J. Brown. Justin Watson was unpredictable there. It's kind of a weird game.
Yeah, Rashee Rice only ran 26 routes of 50, and it's because he's not that good of a blocker, so it kind of sucks for him. But overall, yeah, it's just a weird game. Good defenses. It's happened sometimes. They shut down the offenses, and I think Kansas City had 0 second half points, so that's like the biggest takeaway. They've struggled dramatically in the second half, so happened again this week.
Yeah, for me, the Philly game script kind of went how I expected it to on offense. They slowed the game down. They ran the ball a ton. What was really surprising for me was Kansas City and how much they ran the ball and how much they were able to run the ball. Pacheco is just kind of a monster, even against a really good Philly D. It was good to finally see Watson convert, but he still had a ton of terrible drops. I actually started him in a few spots where I was needy because he almost caught that touchdown the week prior. But that was, you don't expect him to be the leading receiver when you have Rashee Rice, who should be commanding the routes and targets there. So, weird game. They didn't get to the over either. So, what are you going to do? Aaron, I think you're muted.
Yeah,
I muted mine because I had to cough, and then Jesse muted his to talk to a nurse. What I was trying to say was, would you tell that nurse you're talking to we would appreciate it if she would do her job a little quieter? I mean, I realize she's saving lives and doing important stuff, but come on, fantasy football here. Talk a little quieter, please.
Amen.
It's the most important.
Yes, far more important. So 2 elite teams here. I think you dismiss a good portion of it. The bad games were 2 good defenses, so Jalen Hurts is kind of interesting. Not a great game here. Like I said, he was living on 2 tush pushes to make him fantasy relevant. That kind of saved your day. Jalen Hurts scores twice in sloppy win. That pretty much sums it up, though. He's
he's got rushing touchdowns on the year already. It's how he's living. It's great.
If they ever find a way,
But-
see, this is the thing. I think I know we're not specifically talking dynasty here, but if I have him in dynasty, I think I'm looking to sell. I can't see how they don't outlaw this play in the offseason, along with that hip drop tackle that's getting everyone hurt. I think those are the first two things they outlaw this offseason. And if they outlaw that tush push, I think his rushing touchdowns plummet.
Well,
Yeah,
not
but,
only
like,
that,
it's not-
but Jason
not a dangerous
Kelsey's
play, though.
gone, right? Yeah, I just wanted to add the point that Jason Kelsey's retiring, right? He's announced that, I believe, or so. Like those two things in combination are brutal for Hurts for sure.
Yeah, I think like the hip drop one has way more credibility because you're seeing guys get actively hurt. It's just physics, right? Because the way like they're pulling on their bodies and it causes the body to go one way. With the tush push, you're just pushing a guy going forward and no one's really getting hurt from it. So like I think if it starts getting injuries, then yeah, I can see the case for it.
Every other team that tries it gets hurt. The Eagles aren't getting hurt. Everybody else gets hurt. That's the problem.
Yeah, you got Justin
the one
Simmons or whatever his name is, spearing dudes for the Josh Dobbs.
and catching touchdowns. The one thing I do want to talk about though is Patrick Mahomes. Since we had our fantasy court, Aaron, Mahomes has gone from QB6 to QB13.
You know what? And I seen his stat line, and I almost messaged you. Might be a good time to tweet out our good buddy Dennis, but I didn't want to get involved. So I was expecting to see you tweet him.
I retweeted it, but I didn't tag him. Just out of kind of deference to his fandom. But the real issue here for me is the 26 drops for Kansas City, worst in the league. Like I said, Watson had a great game, but he still had at least 2 or 3 drops that were credited, and plenty more really bad plays. Obviously, MVS, like it's just terrible. The fact that, and Jesse, I responded to you on your tweet earlier today. The fact that they didn't go out and get someone, I don't know who they would have gotten, to your point, but the fact that they didn't address this wide receiver room, whether it be in the offseason or before the trade deadline, is just a problem. And you're just seeing it continue to manifest itself. And that's the reason they lost this game. Mahomes was really good.
It's funny you brought up fantasy court, though, because that's the single worst thing for me for fantasy court. Through 3 episodes of it, after every week, I have to deal with being tagged in one of the posts by one of the 2 people gloating that the other person was wrong. And it goes on all season long. All season long. So.